Alright, I'm live on YouTube, live on Rumble. Wait, hold on a second. This is not set up, so give me one moment. I forgot I need to get off of push to talk here. Alright, good morning! Happy Sunday, Easter Sunday, and 420. A lot of awesome stuff happening, on this date in history. This show is about interesting and important events that happened today throughout the annals of recorded history, starting with on Easter Sunday, April 20th, 420, 2025. I'm Aozander. I will be joined by the Golden Loon here shortly. Maybe Noah will pop in, but of course, you are you. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us. How are you doing today, this fabulous, awesome, once in a million years? What are the chances? How often does Easter Sunday land on 420? That's a legitimate question of mine. I'm wondering.
Not often.
So, yeah, I wonder if anybody can actually do the math. But we have a hell of a show today for you, just like yesterday. Starting off in the year 295, 8th record perihelion passage of Halley's Comet. Now, the perihelion is the closest it is to the sun. So, this is the 8th record recorded of this in the year 295. And that only comes every 70-something years, right? Halley's Comet?
Yeah.
So, when was the first recorded perihelion? In the BCs.
I guess. I don't know.
Has to be. Anyway, 1290 Round Table Tournament held near Winchester, England, in imitation of King Arthur. Okay, imitation. To commemorate betrothal of daughter of Edward I and attended by the king. So that's pretty cool. Round table tournament and all that stuff. 1303, the Sapienza University of Rome was instituted by a bull of Pope Boniface VIII. All right. 1505, Jews were expelled from Orange, Burgundy by Philbert of Luxembourg. And here we go again. Why? Why does this keep happening? We don't know, and as soon as we start questioning, we get the ultimate conversation, shut up, or, oh, don't be anti-Semitic. Well, what are you hiding? Why are you so against people having a dialogue about it? No. Anyway, 1535, Stockholm experienced the atmospheric optical phenomenon called a sundog or perihelion over the city, prompting omens against King Gustav Vasa. Huh. Well, I'd look that up, but, for the sake of time, we just got to, keep powering through. But if anybody can let us know anything, well, I know what perihelion means in regards to comets, but when it comes to, you know what? I'm going to look this up. What is a sundog? So, give me a moment here, actually. Ecosia. All right. Sundog. The sundog is a member of the family of halos caused by the refraction of sunlight by ice crystals in the atmosphere. Okay, so it's it's shiny.
I guess so.
Yeah. Moving on up to 1610, only recorded performance of William Shakespeare's tragedy Macbeth during the playwright's lifetime at the Globe Theatre by astrologer Simon Forman. Now, we have a discrepancy here. So this is what I just read.
Yeah.
But then 1 year later, first known performance of Shakespeare's tragedy Macbeth at the Globe Theatre, London, recorded by Simon Forman.
Someone's got the date wrong.
But they did it twice. They're both right here. How do you screw this up?
I don't know.
So, which year is it? 1653. With 40 musketeers, Oliver Cromwell routed the English Rump Parliament to House after it failed to establish a caretaker government. And from the main source here, Oliver Cromwell and 40 musketeers forcibly dissolved the English Rump Parliament after it failed to establish a caretaker government. In Cromwell's words, quote, "You have sat too long for any good you have been doing lately. In the name of God, go," end quote. Well,
put them on their rump.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's where the term rump comes from.
Probably. I'm not sure. Yeah. That's a good question, actually. So, but, this quote here can be said about many people in positions of authority in today's world, of all time, but especially in today's world. 1770, the Georgian king, Ercole II, abandoned by his Russian ally, Count Todleben, won a victory over Ottoman forces at Aspinizda. So even though his ally left, he still won. So that's well, I didn't even need you anyway. Screw you, Russia. 1770 as well, Captain James Cook arrived in New South Wales, and we spoke about him discovering Australia yesterday.
Yeah.
So I guess this is when he actually landed in what would become New South Wales.
Yeah.
So whatever it was, known back then, if it even had a name. 1777, New York adopted a new constitution as an independent state.
Ooh.
And we've spoken about this quite often. When we had the revolution and after it, we had no idea what we were going to replace it with. We just knew we couldn't live another day with a British boot on our neck. We could end up with another boot on the neck, but at least we're trying, not just sitting there and succumbing, accepting our fate.
Well, after the independence, there was great debate. Should we go back to the colonies or should we link together?
Yeah.
That went on for quite a while.
About 10 years,
yeah.
Roughly. 1789, George Washington arrived at Gray's Ferry, Philadelphia, while en route to Manhattan for his inauguration. Mm-hmm. All right. 1792, France declared war against the, quote, King of Hungary and Bohemia, in quotes, the beginning of the French Revolutionary Wars. And we have here from the main source, amidst the French Revolution, France declared war on Austria and Prussia, beginning the French Revolutionary Wars. So, all right. 1809, 2 Austrian army corps in Bavaria were defeated by a first French Empire army led by Napoleon at the Battle of Avesberg on the second day of a 4-day campaign that ended in a French victory. And Napoleon I and French forces defeat Austria at the Battle of Avesberg in Bavaria. 1818, Napoleon Bonaparte bid an emotional farewell to his old guard at Palace of Fontainebleau, which I believe this is when he was being exiled. I don't know exactly which one. I think the second time.
I have no idea.
Dude, Napoleon was such a force, they had to exile him twice. Like you've never heard about that. He's like Invader Zim. Or I guess Invader Zim is like him. Like, you quit being banished?
All I know is there's now a hotel casino in Las Vegas called Fontainebleau.
Yes, there is. Isn't that the newest one?
It's pretty new.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the newest.
That was one.
I've never been in it. So
yeah, but that was the one. It was under construction and then it stopped for a while. It was just a husk there. Yeah,
that's the one.
Moving on up to 1828, Frenchman René Callier became the second non-Muslim to enter Timbuktu, following Major Gordon Lang. He would also be the first to return alive. So pretty interesting, a conversation we were having earlier today, about if these people try to live in this, would they even survive?
No.
Well, here we go. But here's the weird thing. From our main source in 1828, it says here, Frenchman René Callier is the first non-Muslim to enter Timbuktu and returned to win a 10,000 franc prize from the Société de Géographie. Well, which one is it? Is he the first or the second? Because my other source says he's the second, the first one being Major Gordon Lang, although he's the first one to come back. So,
well, there you go. Yeah.
So, 1836, U.S. Congress passed an act creating the Wisconsin Territory. All right. So before it was a state, happy birthday, Wisconsin.
Territory,
I guess, yeah. 1861, during the American Civil War, Robert E. Lee resigned his commission in the United States Army in order to command the forces of, I believe it was his home state, Virginia, which is why, because he used to be in the Union.
Yes.
But he fought on the Confederacy because his home state was on the Confederacy.
Yeah.
So he was loyal to his home more than to his country.
Well, he agreed with the split, and he agreed anyway.
He didn't. No, he didn't really agree with the split, but he was more loyal.
He
was more loyal to his homeland than he was to the politics.
I think it was more than just loyal. I think he was loyal to it, yes, but I think he also believed in what they were doing in splitting. That's what I meant to say.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't think Robert E. Lee was pro-slavery. He just was defending his homeland.
The whole thing wasn't about slavery, but he stayed with his homeland for sure.
Yeah. Moving on up to 1861, Thaddeus S.C. Lowe, attempting to display the value of balloons, made a record journey flying 900 miles from Cincinnati to South Carolina on a balloon in 1861. That's pretty impressive right there for back then. And in 1862, actually I'm a little ahead of myself right here. Here we go. We have Louis Pasteur and Claude Bernard completed the experiment disproving the theory of spontaneous generation. And that ties in with the first pasteurization test is completed by Frenchmen Louis Pasteur and Claude Bernard. Now, what spontaneous generation is for a while, people believed that vermin like, mice, rats, and cockroaches and all that stuff just magicked itself into existence. They had no idea that, they reproduced and all that stuff. They thought that they just appeared. Spontaneous generation. Yeah, well, people were stupid back then. So, actually, let me look this up. Spontaneous generation. Let me get an actual... Spontaneous generation is a superseded scientific theory that held that living creatures could arise from non-living matter and that such processes were commonplace and regular. So, like that animal, not just vermin, but just animals just happened, you know?
Yeah.
No. 1865, Crosby Opera House opened in Chicago, Illinois, later destroyed in the Great Fire of 1871. This kind of coincides with the mud flood theory. Like, take any major city all across the world, within a 50-year time span, they all had major fires. Almost as if they're trying to burn everything away, kind of akin to, recent happenings like Lahaina and LA. Burn things away, wipe out history, bury it, build on top of it, and people forget after a few generations. It's that easy to rewrite history, 1865, astronomer Angelo Secchi demonstrated the Secchi disk, which measures water clarity aboard Pope Pius IX's yacht, the L'Immaculée Conception. All right. Whatever the Secchi disk. So, but water clarity, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't get that.
So, actually, I would look it up, but we got to keep going here. 1871, U.S. Third Enforcement Act confirmed ability of President to suspend writ of habeas corpus.
Good.
What? No, not good.
I know. I'm just trying to get a rile out of you. And
well, it's interesting because Lincoln did suspend habeas corpus.
I believe he did.
He did during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And that was before 1871.
Yeah.
So I guess this is them retroactively authorizing his action. I guess I don't know.
That was 5-6 years later or something.
Roughly, yeah. The war ended in 65, so this is 6 years later. 1876, the April Uprising began. It suppressed and shocked European opinion, and Bulgarian independence became a condition for ending the Russo-Turkish War. All right. 1879, the first mobile home, which was horse-drawn, obviously, used in a journey from London to Cyprus. That's an RV there, Clark. And I'm going to fall in love with it because I'm going to take it with me when I leave here next month. Next month. No, that's when he spits out the eggnog.
Yeah.
So the bing is...
something else.
No, when you forgot the X.
Oh,
at
the
the
tree.
beginning.
For the tree.
Yeah, just had to dig it out. So... But that's cool, the first mobile home.
Yeah.
1884, Pope Leo the 13th published the encyclical Humanium Genus condemning Freemasonry.
Ooh.
So, yeah, Freemasonry came out of the Knights Templar, and the Catholic Church tried to destroy them because they had a tremendous debt to the Crusaders. So instead of paying it off, they labeled them as heretics, killed them all, and forced them underground. So, I usually like Pope Leo, but at the same time, now he's just proving their point even more. So, 1887, Georges Button won the world's first motor race on a steam-powered quadricycle, a test organized by French newspaper Le Velocipede. All right. The world's first motor race.
On a quad.
Quadricycle, yeah. 1894, 136,000 mine workers striked in Ohio for a pay increase. That's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
1898, U.S. President William McKinley signed a joint resolution in Congress for a declaration of war against Spain, beginning the Spanish-American War.
Ah, okay.
Yep. And a lot of people don't remember that war, and very much like everything else, that was started with a false flag attack. We orchestrated a event where the media said
California coast or something.
No, it was in Cuba. I believe.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm thinking of something else there.
Yeah, what were you thinking of?
It's not clear right now in my head which way it was going, but they...
California coast. I don't remember anything.
Go ahead. My bad.
Anyway, 1902, Mary and Pierre Curie, those names should be pretty big right there, isolated the radioactive compound radium chloride. That's massive.
Yeah.
So, 6 years later, 1908, opening day of competition in the New South Wales Rugby League. Okay, cool. 1912, Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts, officially opened. Red Sox beat visiting New York Highlanders 7-6 in 11 innings. Happy birthday, Fenway Park. It's still around, right?
Oh, yeah.
The same building, or did they rebuild it? Or
It's the same field. I don't know what they've done to it as far as adding seating capacity and all that, but that's what the. Is it
Stadium?
Boston? Where is this at?
Boston, Fenway Park.
Yeah. That's with the big green wall up there.
Ah, okay, the Green Monster.
Green Monster,
Yeah. 2 years later, 1914, we got 19 men, women, and children participating in a strike were killed in the Ludlow Massacre during the Colorado Coalfield War. And we have, from our main source, Ludlow Massacre, Colorado Fuel and Iron, CF&I, security team, and Colorado National Guard soldiers killed 21 workers, women, and children during a mine strike in Ludlow, Colorado. Well, we have a discrepancy. 21 or 19. Which one is it? Well, I asked the viewers. Well, let us know in the comments section. 1914, the Armenians rose and seized the Turkish town of Van, which they held until Russians relieved them on May 19th. Thousands of Armenians were killed. This sounds like the Armenian genocide. So, I don't know. 1916, Chicago Cubs played their first game at Weigman Park, known today as Wrigley Field, and defeated the Cincinnati Reds 7-6. So Fenway Park and Wrigley Field on the same day. What a chance, dude.
Yeah.
Oh. 1918, Manfred von Richthofen. Does that name ring a bell to you?
No.
Also known as the Red Baron.
Oh, okay.
Shot down his 79th and 80th victims, marking his final victories before his death the following day. So tomorrow he dies.
Man.
Yeah. The Red Baron, one of the most famous aviators of all time. 1920, Big Show ended a 2-year run on NBC Radio. The wrestler, Big Show?
Never heard.
I know of him, but damn, I didn't realize he was that old. Jeez. Now, this is something major, and I'm not surprised at all that it's not even spoken about in our main source, but the Balfour Declaration was recognized, making Palestine a British mandate. Now, let me look this up. Balfour Declaration. A lot of people don't realize this, but let me look this up here really quick. And actually, I will add this in the underbrush section. The Balfour Declaration was a public statement issued by the British government in 1917 during the First World War, announcing its support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, which was then an Ottoman region with a small minority Jewish population. So a lot of people are under the misconception that Israel is a product of the Holocaust. No, it is not. They've been wanting to make Israel since before the First World War even ended.
Right.
So
but they never got their a homeland for the Jews.
Yeah, so they never got their way.
They picked it back up after World War II and went back to this location.
But see, this is what makes me believe that the Zionists, because Nathan Balfour, or whatever his name was Arthur Balfour, right here. Says here, it was a British statesman and conservative politician, yada yada, something about, he's a Zionist. It says so somewhere around here, I'll put both of these links in the end. But anyway, I have a
It was introduced in 1917.
It was, so, don't think that Israel was a product of the Holocaust, because it was not. But that's how history is damned and rewritten. People don't think of the actual reality. Anyway, 1926, first check sent by radio facsimile fax transmission across Atlantic.
Ooh,
so they're
what
faxing
year?
a check. 1926.
Whoa!
Faxing. Now, what's weird, and
I remember when we got our first fax machine.
Fax Abraham Lincoln Samurai. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Let's see. Let me bigger this. Try again. That's in Latin. Okay, that's in another language. But basically, it goes on to say that there was a point in time where radio facsimile, fax, Abraham Lincoln, and Japanese samurai all occupied this earth at the same time. So it was possible that a samurai from Japan could have sent a fax to Abraham Lincoln. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Isn't that absolutely crazy?
Yeah.
So, anyway, moving on up to 1931, British House of Commons agreed for sports play on Sunday, which is pretty big, being a Judeo-Christian society and everything.
Yeah.
So, 1934, Heinrich Himmler appointed chief of all German police, including the Prussian secret state police. Ew, not good. He is the orchestrator of the Holocaust. So, 1940, first electron microscope demonstrated, RCA in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is. Or is it small? Depends on how you look at it.
Taking small, making it huge.
Yeah. 1941, 100 German bombers attacked Athens, Greece, I presume. It just says Athens.
Yeah.
It has to be Greece.
Yeah.
1941 as well, Dodgers started to wear liners in their caps. Okay.
In other words, protection liners.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 1944, National Football League legalized coaching from the bench.
Was that?
They legalized coaching from the... So instead of, I think, having coaches have to be standing on the field the whole game, they can sit down or be in the bench area and coach from there. And, give an order to an underling, and then they, kind of like how the military works.
I don't know.
Such.
I don't even know what that means.
Coaching from the bench. Well, let me look this up here really quick. Coaching from the bench, NFL. Bench coach, well, this is just not telling me anything there. So, anyway, moving on up. 1945, Soviet artillery began shelling Berlin. Yep.
Yeah. Beginning of the end.
Yep. Well, that started a while ago, but
yeah,
this is when
Aggressively.
it was really obvious in their face. 1945 as well, U.S. 7th Army captured the German city of Nuremberg.
Ooh.
Yep. We also have, during World War II, U.S. troops captured Leipzig in Germany, only to later cede the city to the Soviet Union. We also have 20 Jewish children who were used in medical experiments at New Game were killed in the basement of the Bullenhauser Dam School. Man, awful, awful stuff. And one more in 1945 here as well during World War II. In the Führer bunker on his 56th birthday, so don't forget that, this is also Hitler's birthday, 4/20.
Wow.
Adolf Hitler made his last trip to the surface to award Iron Crosses to the boy soldiers of the Hitler Youth. Yikes.
Holy cow.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why, today, Easter Sunday on 4/20, landing on so much stuff in history, and it's Easter, it is a wild day today. 1946, the League of Nations officially dissolved, giving most of its power to the United Nations.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier as
Yeah.
well. 1949, jockey Bill Schumacher won his first race in Albany, California.
Oh, he was a legend.
Yes, absolutely. 1951, a huge ticker tape parade was held in New York City for World War II and Korean War General Douglas MacArthur after he was relieved of command by President Truman. We spoke about this yesterday. That was his military career ended. And then I brought up the fact that he was approached to become the commissioner of baseball. Which still baffles me. Yeah.
But relieved of command just sounds bad. But
Well,
I think it's a retirement.
Well, no, actually, he was forcibly relieved
really?
because during the Korean War, he was in charge of it, and he wanted to nuke North Korea.
Oh.
And politics got in the way, and then they got rid of him. So that way,
I'm glad we didn't nuke North Korea.
I am not. Well, I mean, it's still around, and they're a threat, and they're with China, they're not with us, that's for sure. So I mean, sometimes you look back at history and be like, yeah, we should have done this. So, I mean, I'm not advocating for death. I'm advocating for peace, and they don't want peace. So, what am I going to do? Something's got to give.
I'm glad we didn't nuke them.
I'm not. 1962, New Orleans Citizens Company gave free one-way ride to blacks to move north. Wow.
Say that one more time.
New Orleans Citizens Company gave free one-way ride to blacks to move north. So they're trying to get rid of them. Yeah.
Man.
And we're going to be talking more about things like that here, because right here in 1964, 86% of black students boycott Cleveland schools. Obviously they don't like what's happening, so you got to listen to them.
Right.
1965, the People's Republic of China offers North Vietnam military aid. That's not good. 1968, British politician Enoch Powell made his controversial Rivers of Blood speech. I've never heard of it, but that sounds awful. Rivers of Blood. So I gotta look that up here. 1968, you want to talk about the beginning of the end. Pierre Trudeau was sworn in as Canada's 15th Prime Minister. Boo! Boo. Boo the Trudeaus. Boo. 1970, Bruno Kreisky became the first socialist chancellor of Austria. You thought they would have learned, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Hitler wasn't, he was Austrian, but, you know, he was leader of Germany.
Yeah.
And you think Austria would have been like, yeah, let's not go that way. But I guess not. 71, U.S. Supreme Court upheld use of busing to achieve racial desegregation.
Yeah,
Desegregate. No.
No. It's just not practical.
Well,
we need to live amongst each other is
yes.
the answer, but it wasn't being done. So I get
well,
it.
this was a way before they were
I know.
integrated. It's a way to get them coming in to make it more normalized.
Yeah.
I guess.
And meanwhile, you had to get on a bus and go a half an hour across town to get to school.
Well, it's better than being segregated in your own school.
Well,
I mean,
yes,
it's
but the
something.
busing
It's
was
heading the
just a
right
pain in
way.
the ass for the
It's heading the
kids.
right way. You know.
Yeah. Okay. In the time, I just remember such an
Every
uproar.
black cloud has its silver lining.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Just busing was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
for
Well,
kids.
I mean, segregation was worse.
Oh,
So,
way worse.
1972, during the Apollo program, Apollo 16 lunar module, commanded by John Young and piloted by Charles Duke, landed on the moon. And we have Apollo 16's, they landed on the moon with Boeing Lunar Rover number 2. So that's when they brought in that little vehicle.
Yeah.
Which I think they
Yeah.
left the rover there.
Yes.
So,
They did.
and there was a couple rovers actually up there. So, 1973, Canadian Anik A2 became the first commercial satellite in orbit. All right, Canada breaking records. Look at that.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Let's make a buck with this, shall we?
Yeah. 1973 as well, mass murderer Ed Kemper attempted to dispose of his mother's vocal cords in a domestic waste disposal unit. What the hell?
Oh, God, that just sounds sick.
That's crazy.
Oh,
Yikes. So,
bitched at him for the last time, I guess.
yeah. 1974, during the Troubles, the Northern Ireland conflict began between Republican and Loyalist paramilitaries, British security forces, and civil rights groups, claims its 1,000th victim. So now, as of April 20th, 1974, 1,000 people have died in the struggle for Ireland to become independent. Just let them go, Britain.
It was a mess.
You know, it's still a mess.
Yeah.
They're still, Britain is just, holding as hard as they can at the last vestiges of their once great empire, and they just refuse to let them go. Just let them go. Free Ireland. 1977, Supreme Court ruled live free or die may be covered on New Hampshire licenses. Yeah, that's their state motto in New Hampshire. Live free or die. Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be free, then get the hell out of here. 1979, U.S. President Jimmy Carter is attacked by a swamp rabbit that swam up to his fishing boat in Plains, Georgia. What? Must have had a hair up its butt or something, But that reminds me, Napoleon got attacked by a bunch of rabbits once.
Really?
Yeah, and that was actually, they didn't attack him, but because they back in those times, they did hunts,
Uh-huh.
with the hounds, release the hounds and all that stuff. And because Napoleon was often there helping feed the rabbits, they equated him to food. So when they let them go to run off so they can hunt, they all swarmed him, and started lightly nibbling on him. But they literally piled on him, and he was attacked by a bunch of rabbits.
I thought he was covered in lettuce.
Huh. Moving on up here to 1980, Cuban President Fidel Castro announced he was opening the Mariel port for Cubans to leave. About 125,000 people left in the next 5 to 6 months. Uh-oh, that's not good.
All went to Florida.
Yeah, well, actually, right here in 1980, the same day, same year, Cubans began to arrive in the U.S. from Mariel boat lift. So, the exact day he announced it, they're, okay, bye,
I'm out of here.
I can leave? See ya! 1982, 1981, the final performance of TV show Soap aired. So the actual title was called Soap.
I remember that, yeah.
And I wonder if that's where soap operas come from, the whole term.
No, this is after soap operas. This was a takeoff on soap operas, hence the name Soap.
And actually, the whole thing about soap operas...
It was an evening show instead of a soap operas during the day, right?
I don't know. But weren't soap
know.
operas, didn't they get their name because they got advertised by soap companies or something? Okay, yeah. So, 1982, Atlanta Braves became the first team to win the first 12 games of the season. All right. It's pretty impressive right there.
12-0.
Moving on to 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a $165 billion bailout bill for Social Security. Gee, that's what we need. I would have just let that fail. You know, if it needs a bailout, obviously it needs to go.
Well, it was never projected out. It doesn't work.
You know, it's
because
just
back in the day when it started, it was like there was 50 to 1, 50 working, one getting the benefits, 50 contributing. Now it's 5 to 1 or something.
Yeah.
So,
well, if it's even that big, so.
I mean, 5 contributing to 1 taking. You know.
Yeah. 1985, we spoke a little bit about this yesterday. The ATF raid on the Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord compound in northern Arkansas. You know, the CSA, the white supremacist group thing. So, you know, go check out yesterday's show if you want. The history show, not the news one. We got into that a bit more, but a little weird that they're talking about that again today because that was yesterday.
Yeah.
But also in 1985, Carlos Lopez ran world record marathon 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 12 seconds. I wonder if that's still the record.
I doubt it.
1986, Michael Jordan set NBA playoff record with 63 points in a game.
Ooh.
And you said that he's like hit hundreds, you know, in a game, right? Like 100?
No.
No?
The only one to hit 100 points in a game was Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh, okay. I got my basketball people confused.
Yeah.
1986, Vladimir Horowitz performed in Moscow, Russia, his first appearance in his Russian homeland since 1925. Wow. That's over 50 years. 1988, the Baltimore Orioles set world record to start a season 0 to 14. Will go on to 0 to 21.
Oh! Every loss
got
they were
worse.
setting a new record.
Yeah. They're making records, but in a bad
Every
way.
day, yeah, they're in reverse.
It's not good. You're going the wrong way.
Almost call it an anti-record.
I know, right? Like, 1983, the U.S. accused Renamo of killing 100,000 Mozambicans. Yikes. That's a crime against humanity right there. 1990, 8 2/3 inning perfect game pitched by Brian Holman of Oakland A's was spoiled by a home run hit by Ken Phillips.
2 outs, bottom of the ninth. Guy hits a home run. Spoils your no-hitter.
Talk about getting, like kneecapped right there.
Yeah.
Like just, out of nowhere. Just nope. So, 1990, former MLB baseball player and manager Pete Rose pled guilty to hiding $300,000 in income. Can this guy stop fucking up? You know, he's the guy who was betting on games, right? Like,
yeah.
And he was banned from baseball.
He was managing the Reds, and he's not only betting on baseball, he's been betting on his own team.
You know, this guy was doing everything wrong.
But I still think it's wrong. And he's passed away now. I think he should go into the Hall of Fame.
He should, but
we should recognize his baseball.
Give
and not
credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
You know, and I would agree, give credit, put him in Hall of Fame, but then have a little asterisk. This guy was a piece of shit. You know.
Well, I don't argue too much while he was alive, but now that he's dead, put the guy in there. He was phenomenal. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Moving on up to 1991, Mark Lindsay was the first driver to score 100 points in a drive, 101.85 points. Let's see, do I have any comments? I do. RMG Relaunch, hello, how you doing today, my friend? 1993, Mercury National Records released Shania Twain, the debut studio album of Shania Twain. Shania.
Should it be Shania Twang?
Shania Twang. Yeah, that's such a weird name. So, 1993, Uranus passed Neptune once every 171 years, so that's pretty interesting on the same date as that perihelion passage we spoke about at the beginning.
Yeah.
So some more astronomical history here. I wonder if this was a gas, Uranus, a gas.
I got it.
1994, Pakistani cricket batsman Sohail and Inzaghi made world record ODI partnership of 263 against New Zealand and Sharjah.
Why?
We got in the 90s, you thought you were out, but no!
Just when I forgot about it.
I actually
you bring it back home.
Now I gotta let you know that yesterday there was only 2 cricket articles. And
we got both of them.
No.
We got both of them.
No. This is our first one that we
Yesterday we got 2 of them.
Well, no. Today we had 2 of them. as well. I put in the first one, and then I came across this one, and I got rid of the first one and brought this one in just to wait till later, because I get to give you the illusion that you're out of the woods. But no, I have to torture you. Aren't I a loving son? What is this? What is this?
Shit-eating grin.
1996 Chicago Bulls won record 72 games in a season. Woo! These are kicking ass out there. 1997. You're gonna say something?
No.
Okay. We have the 27th Easter Seal Telethon raised $47,392,682. Nice.
I wonder if they still do that.
I hope so. Although at the same time, like, I don't know, because like all of these, like, you know, donation areas and charities, they mainly pocket most of the money, and the people that they represent.
It depends on who they are. The
not
good ones,
anymore. Like,
the good ones will show you what their operating costs are, what the percentage going to costs are.
well, they'll show what they want you to see. You know, they can
Okay.
straight up lie. I mean, you know, just be aware out there, people. Like, you know, if you ever donate anything to
Do
Goodwill,
research.
Goodwill does not do shit. They make 100% profit. So, anyway, moving on up to 1997 as well. The Cubs beat New York Mets, ending the National League's worst opening losing streak of 14 straight games. Ouch. 97 as well. The first baseball game in Hawaii. The Cardinals beat Padres in a doubleheader.
Ooh.
All right. 97 as well. Mark McGwire was the fourth to home run on Detroit Tiger left field roof. Others were Frank Howard, Harmon Killebrew, and Cecil Fielder. I wonder if that's chronologically accurate. Now, is this before or after he was juicing? Because it is Mark McGwire.
I have no idea, but he was probably juicing.
Oh.
But you know, it's not for me to say.
Yeah.
By that date, I would think he was.
I'm not sure, though. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
1998, German terrorist group Red Army faction, also known as the Bader Meinwurf group, disbands after 28 years. All right, good. They're gone. So, although going from good news to bad news, a major event here in 1999, Columbine High School massacre. Eric Harris and Dylan Kellybold killed 13 people and injured 24 others before committing self-deletion at Columbine High School in Columbine, Colorado. My other source says 14 were killed and 23 was injured. So which was it? 1324 or 1423? You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like that big of a discrepancy, but I
Well,
want to be accurate.
It looks like
So-
you know, they have the totals right, but how many died and how many survived, they have differences.
Well, yeah. So, 2007, Johnson Space Center shooting. William Phillips barricaded himself with a handgun in NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, before killing a male hostage and himself. So it pretty much says the same thing here. So, but yeah, I had no idea there was a situation like this in a NASA facility.
Yeah.
Right after Columbine. Well, not right after, but
Same
8 years
time,
later,
yeah.
same dates. That's kind of
Same date,
weird.
yeah.
But something else pretty cool, though, here. Some
Oh.
good news. In 2008, Danica Patrick, driving for Andretti Green Racing, won the Indy Japan 300 at Twin Ring Motegi. First female driver in history to win an Indy Series car race. All right.
There
You
weren't
go,
too many
girl.
driving, but I don't know if she was still the only one, or
I'm not sure if
Yeah.
she was the first female driver ever, but she's the first one
I
to.
believe she was to break in. You know,
Huh.
those cars are so powerful. You got to have a lot of credentials to get behind
Yeah.
the wheel of one of those.
Yeah.
To actually race.
Yeah. And then going back into some bad news here, in 2010, the Deepwater Horizon drilling rig exploded in the Gulf of America, then known as the Gulf of Mexico, killing 11 workers and beginning an oil spill that would last 6 months. Now, before you start getting all annoyed, oh, well, I hate that it's called the Gulf of America. It needs to be called the Gulf of Mexico. Mexico is in America, okay? There is no country called America. It's not America of America. It's the United States of America. Just because it's accepted vernacular does not make it factually correct. It is not. Canada is in America. The United States is in America.
Brazil,
Mexico is in America.
Argentina.
Brazil, Argentina, Cuba, Puerto Rico.
It's all
They're
America,
all
yeah.
part of America. So all this hate on calling it Gulf of America is only because you're so hateful against a certain politician. You're blinded from what is actually factually correct. Take a step back and shut up. Okay?
You know, it's the only Gulf in America, so it's probably a better name. Having
Yeah.
said that, it's so entrenched as the Gulf of Mexico, I
Yeah.
don't know the point of changing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's more accurate calling it the Gulf of America.
Yes, it is.
And I'm not saying that because I support this politician or that. Believe me, I don't support Orange Man. But it just makes more sense.
But it's just we call the original indigenous here Indians.
Yeah.
It's all a big mistake. We weren't in India.
Well, no. You just proved that.
Yes.
You just proved that.
I'm sorry. Yeah. India didn't even exist.
India was not called India at that time. It was called the Raj or whatever, if there was even a name for it.
Yeah.
So.
And it was Indio or something like that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, no, you're right. You're the one who told me
I
this.
forgot. Yeah.
I'm reminding you of your own facts.
That's what happens when you get old, folks.
When you're old, you're getting older. Anyway, moving on up to 2012, 127 people were killed when a plane crashed in a residential area near the Benazir Bhutto International Airport near Islamabad, Pakistan. Yikes. On Football Sunday, actually, a couple years back, a plane hit a house just a mile away.
Yeah. Boy, was that loud.
Man, dude, the whole house shook. I thought a fuel truck blew up on the freeway or something. It was crazy. 2013, a 6.6 magnitude earthquake struck Lushan County, Ya'an, in China's Sichuan province, killing at least 193 people and injuring thousands. Yikes. And right here we have 193 people were killed and 11,826 were injured after a magnitude 7 earthquake struck. So which one is it, 6.6 or 7? So it doesn't matter, but this is why I go to multiple sources. They tell us different things sometimes. So 2018, Commonwealth countries decided Prince Charles will succeed Queen Elizabeth as the next head of the Commonwealth, which he did.
Yep.
So, but Britain still has one queen left, Elton John. Oh, yeah. 2018 as well, Mexican court barred sales of controversial Frida Kahlo Barbie doll. I want to know why that was controversial. So, if this turns out to be something, because I haven't looked ahead to see what this looks like. So, you're saying this fresh eyes with me. If this is offensive, I'm sorry ahead of time. How is this controversial? How is this? I don't understand. It's celebrating. It looks like it's celebrating a cultural heritage.
Maybe it's incorrectly celebrating. I don't know.
Or maybe because Barbie is white, she's committing cultural appropriation. I don't know.
No idea.
It is 2018. It's 2018. Anyway, let's see. What else do we got here? 2020, for the first time in history, oil prices dropped below zero, an effect of the 2020 Russia-Saudi Arabia oil price war.
Yeah.
Can you two fight each other again, please?
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, West Texas Intermediate, the benchmark for U.S. oil, falls as low as a minus. Wow. So, they'll pay us to take oil?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I wish that would happen again.
It didn't last long. But
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now, I normally don't cover anything about the Kung Flu pandemic, but this is interesting here. 2020, the last 3 cruise ships still afloat amid the COVID or the Kung Flu pandemic finally docked at the ports of Marseille, France, Barcelona, Spain, and Los Angeles, California. Now, I was trying to find the video to have a link for the underbar, but I couldn't find it, probably because YouTube deleted it, because the last thing, the left wants is for us to actually know real facts. But, have you ever stopped and thought what they did with the crew after they got all the passengers out? Because the crew is international. They're from everywhere.
Yeah.
How do you get them back home when everything's locked down? Well, what they did was they...
you had an answer.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I was trying to find this video that explains, the answer better. But they all the cruise ships all over the world combined, all went to one area, and then they put all the Puerto Ricans on one ship, all of these guys on that ship, and then they sent them home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all the crew.
Yeah.
That's how they got them home.
That's a pretty good idea.
That's pretty cool, yeah. So, moving on up to 2020, A.O. Xander, hey, I know that guy, consumed a 1,000 milligram herb brownie. And that knocked me on my ass for 3 days. I was hoping to, because at the time I was working with Grubhub and Postmates, and I'm like, no, I'm going to celebrate 4/20, 2020. I mean, that's a massive date. So I was going to do it right. I went out and got a 1,000 milligram brownie and some other stuff. It took me about 3 hours to slowly get through, because there was so much herb in that brownie. It tasted like dirt. It was not enjoyable, but I powered through it.
And I was hoping to work the next day. Nope, didn't happen. Like, that was the first and only time I actually passed out in my chair, and you wanted to send me to the hospital. Like, you thought I was dying. I'm like, no, I'm just cripplingly high. You know, stoned like a gravel road, like a biblical prostitute. Like,
That's right. It tastes like dirt.
it did. It tasted like dirt. And at no point in eating that brownie did chocolate, breach my taste buds. But, man, it did the job. So, 2021, all 6 EPL clubs withdrew from the controversial European Super League just 3 days after it was announced. Chelsea, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, and Tottenham. No idea, but whatever. 2021, here we go. This is some more controversial stuff because I have a few things to say. So I'm going to read this first one here from our main source. A victim of police brutality, my ass. Former police officer Derek Chauvin convicted of the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis in a case that prompted huge nationwide racial justice protests. Well, here we go. State of Minnesota versus Derek Michael Chauvin. Derek Chauvin was found guilty of all charges in the murder of George Floyd by the 4th Judicial District Court of Minnesota. Despite Floyd having beyond lethal amounts of various drugs in his system, let's not forget the toxicology report was very suppressed. And on top of that, Floyd was a known criminal, having tried to use a fake $20 bill at a convenience store. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. Once again, I advise, don't listen to me. Use me as a platform to springboard your own personal education. Go look at this yourself. But he did use a counterfeit $20 bill at a convenience store. Atop that, Derek Chauvin, atop that, at one point, George Floyd held a loaded gun to the belly of a pregnant woman trying to rob her. Man, this guy is just such a great guy now, isn't he? Now, Derek Chauvin knew George Floyd, and this is why he stopped him. He was a suspect. I think this was actually when he used the $20 bill, the fake $20 bill, and he was a suspect. So he was trying to ask him, and he was already saying he couldn't breathe in the chair of the car with the seatbelt still on. Long before the whole knee incident, he was already talking about he couldn't breathe. So. And if you look at other photos, if you watch the police cam video, if you actually do some basic research, the knee was not on the neck. It was as per standard police procedure on the shoulders to hold him down because he was known to be a violent criminal. He was already a dead man to begin with. This was a giant BS just to attack, things. So anyway, that's what I'm going to have to say about all that. Believe what you want, I don't care. Just know the facts, Moving on up, 2021, President of Chad for 3 decades, Idris Deby was killed on a battlefield fighting rebels near the capital, N'Djamena. A leader who fights with his men. What a concept, Wow. Now, you could say that, Chad's not a good country. You could say that, the president of Chad, maybe he was a dictator. Doesn't matter. At least he's on the battlefield with the people he sends to go die for him. What a concept, You got to give credit where credit is due. So, 2022, online streaming service Netflix suffered its first subscriber loss in a decade, losing 200,000 customers between January and March. And I wonder...
I forget what the reason of that was.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder if that was because of the Cuties controversy.
What's the Cuties?
Cuties is a movie, because it was made in France. This is culturally allowed in France, but it's basically a whole bunch of preteen girls, and they did awful stuff. It is not a good thing.
Okay, need to go on. But okay, yeah, I got it. I can't remember what they did, but they had an exodus from a big time. Can't remember what the reason was.
Well, Cuties was the final nail in the coffin. I've never had a Netflix account, but I never will since then. So, moving on up to 2023, 136 people were massacred in the village of Karma, Burkina Faso, one of the country's worst attacks on civilians, blamed on the country's security forces. Yikes. So, and not to make light of anything, but that is bad karma right there.
Yeah.
So. 2023, SpaceX's Starship rocket, the largest and most powerful rocket ever built, launched for the first time. It exploded 4 minutes into the flight. Ooh. So yeah, we have the most powerful rocket ever made with 33 booster engines launched in a historic first test flight from Boca Chica, Texas. Exploded 4 minutes into the flight, with blame centering on Elon Musk's rush to launch on 420. Oh, okay, whatever. Now, speaking of that vein, there is something. What was it? Hold on, let me look this up here really quick. Biggest rocket ever proposed. I think it was called like the Sea Dragon. So let me look at this. Sea Dragon launch. So like this is from a like a movie or something. I'm not sure, For All Mankind, and this was an actual proposal.
Right.
The Sea Dragon, it was so big and so powerful that they have to launch it out of the water because the vibrations would tear it apart otherwise. They use water as a condenser to hold the ship together. But basically, so this is a scene here. You just see the tip of it here, but just watch this. And it was never built, but this was a proposal to send bigger payloads and such.
Oh.
But look, no, it gets bigger. Look at this.
Oh man!
This was a real thing.
Look at the water.
Look at this was a real thing. They were thinking about making this and launching it. But look at that.
Whoa!
Oh, it's not out yet. It's still going. Those were just side boosters. There it goes, the Sea Dragon. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. It is enormous. Absolutely gargantuan. But like right here they have super heavy lift launch vehicle. There's the Falcon Heavy, and then the Sea Dragon is right here. So here. So here's a Saturn V. So you know how big the Saturn V's are. Look at that.
Wow.
It's just huge, and an interplanetary transport system. It's just ridiculous in size. So. Moving on up, 2024, U.S. House passed a bipartisan $95 billion foreign aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, and a bill against TikTok. Because, of course, So, and that shall be it, for the stuff today. So, yeah. That'll conclude the show. Please check the underbar of the description for any links that you may be interested in, including but unlimited to all things Omni Coalition. A lot of history has and continues to be made on a daily basis, and we can only bring you a portion. Please check our sources for more. For your dose of past events daily, we stream every day, or try to, at 11 in the morning Pacific Time, which is 12 noon Mountain, 1 Central, and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, respectively. For all of you and all of us, I am Xander.
Golden Loon.
And UVRU, thank you so much for watching. Happy Easter out there. Happy 420. And, whichever way I'm going to participate, So, yeah, until next time, don't forget to look right and left at every intersection, rate 5 thumbs, and subscribe. Toodly woodlies.